Yeah, it's a big chunk of live
Holy
oak.
schmoly. This swearing thing's gonna be hard.
Schmoly works. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Today, the Arabella crew adds a new member. KP will be along for the ride from here on. So today's episode is all about them. And if you listen closely as Steve and KP walk around the boat today, you'll hear a detailed plan for the work over the next 2 months. Lots more boat building to see coming up next week and beyond, beginning with the install of Steve's curvy basin into the head and getting the water system all connected.
I don't even have coffee, I have tea. But I'm here. Hey, buddy.
Good to see ya.
You want to carry this box of chisels?
You have a whole box of chisels?
There's also some other stuff in there,
Just
but I
teasing.
brought a bunch of chisels. A box of safety gear and a bunch of stuff that I don't remember what I put in there.
Safety third, right?
Exactly.
Alright.
Okay. And my respirator. That's it.
So we're just gonna pop your stuff here for now, and I'll get
Okay.
you a spot carved out for you to store your things. But I wanted to see how many things you had before I tried to find a spot to put them.
Not
was it?
much.
Yeah, no, not a ton. I mean, there's a lot of tools here.
Well, that's what I figured. I didn't bring any power tools because they're all here. I didn't even bring a toolbox because it's like I don't need to bring 17 screwdrivers.
No.
I'll just bring 2.
Yeah, there's a lot here.
Yeah. That's the main stuff right there.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's your little carry around the boat bag.
That's my boat bag. With my prized. Is this the, okay. Well, it's my bag that I made
Nice.
for my Lee Nielsen block plane. I should put my initial side out. There's that.
There you go.
This came from a sweater that shrunk.
They do
and
that sometimes.
I couldn't bear to throw it away, so I went back. But yeah, this is my fave. Made in Maine.
Nice.
It was a gift from the captains of the Merry Day when I set out for boat school. 2004.
Nice.
Yeah. This is my other favorite tool.
All above. I'll have to show you mine.
Well, it's not just any bevel gauge. I mean, yes, it is just any bevel gauge, but I mean, you can't even see it. It's worn off, but it has my initials on it. Can you even see that? KFP.
Oh, yep, just barely.
That was a Carpenter's Boat Shop gift.
Nice.
Anyway, I get sentimental.
It's not a bad thing.
I think wooden boat builders do.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'd be working in a more practical material in
Right,
some ways.
like fiberglass.
I don't know if there really is much more practical.
I went to Camden one day, Maine, and saw the schooners and completely fell in love with them. And had zero background in woodworking, zero background in sailing. I knew nothing. I just knew that I loved those things and I didn't know why. I needed to get on them. And so I left my name here and there on all the boats and they were all set for the season. I was really disappointed, but like, what can you do? My friend said, let's just go down to this one last boat, then we can go home. And lo and behold, they were boarding for their first 6-day trip of the season. And they said, well, we need a dishwasher. Can you wash dishes? I was like, yeah. Who can't wash dishes? They said, do you get seasick? I said, I don't know. And they said, can you be here for 5:30 in the morning to receive the vegetables in a cart down the dock? I was like, sounds really quaint. Absolutely. So I did. I packed my bag. Was back at 2 a.m. because I had to go home and back, call my parents. This was pre-cell phones, so like call your parents on the, and I washed dishes that summer. And that was how I got started on boats. It was the schooner Mary Day. Jen and Barry King and Jen Martin, who are still running the boat now, who are still near and dear to my heart. Maybe they're watching. Hey guys, that would be a trip. Anyway, yeah, so I learned sailing there, and I worked summers through college. I got my degree at University of Southern Maine. The last summer I graduated in 2004 and had no idea what I was going to do next. And then this group of folks came on our last trip to help us like just fill the boat. And then it was like, hey, you guys come on the board and help us take the sails off after and, do some volunteer work. And they were the apprentices from the Carpenter's Boat Shop in Pemaquid. And I got to hang out with these folks, and they were amazing. And they told me more about their program, and they said, oh, well, we have one more slot for an apprentice for the year, just to put it out there. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so I went and visited, and I became an apprentice at the Carpenter's Boat Shop. That's where I learned woodworking and boat building, and I built a 9.5-foot Monhegan skiff for my first boat, and that was the beginning. I love sailing. There's something in my body that loves sailing and feels free when I do it, to be powered by the wind, right? And it connects me to this history of travel, and I don't know, I'm gonna sit down. But woodworking too is like, I love it because it's like a tangible, it's an art and a trade. It's like practical and beautiful. And I think I love both sailing and woodworking, boat building, because there's a science to it and there's an art to it. It engages every sense, right? The smells of a wood shop, the smells when you're under sail, the sounds of, a Lee Nielsen block plane, like the look of the swirl when you make a good pass, or the feeling, the smell of being out on the water, the sounds of the like trickle of the boat cutting through the, I guess they're both intertwined to me, because it's like one leads to the other, right? Like I don't just like cutting a piece of wood to cut a piece of wood. Like I want it to do something, to like be some part of something bigger. And so then you have the boat, and then it's like, well, you don't just work on the boat all the time. Like you want to use the boat. So then of course you want to be on the water. And I think part of my kind of journey, which has looked like this, has been like, oh, I want to be part of the fixing and the putting together of the boats, but I want to be out on the water. But if you work at a boatyard, you don't get out on the water. Like a lot of folks at boatyards, like, God bless them, like they don't actually get out on the water. Some of them don't care, but I did. But it's tough to be out on the water 24/7 all year round. So I want both. My first boatyard I worked at was Yankee Marina in Yarmouth, Maine, and I did finish work. Lot of sanding, a lot of varnishing, and then I got into rigging. So the vast majority of my boatyard work was doing rigging. All the moving parts in a sailboat is the rigging. So the lines, the blocks, the winches, the mast, the boom, all that stuff. Carrying heavy stuff around, putting it together, taking it apart, putting it together, taking it apart. Fascinating stuff, and I wanted more, right? So like I went to Great Island Boatyard in Harpswell, and there I did rigging and carpentry. We worked on a big restoration of a 48-foot wooden ketch. We replaced a bunch of frames, some planks, took out the whole cockpit, replaced stringers. That was a fun project. because I hadn't done a whole restoration in a while. Making frames, I put the whiskey plank in. It was terrible and wonderful. It's so frustrating, and it takes days, and you're like, you shave off one and you put, it doesn't quite fit. You shave it, and you put, I mean, it takes forever, but when it's done, there's no greater satisfaction. I was living my life in Portland, Maine, and had a plan, and then I heard about Acorn to Arabella, and at first was like, that's so cool, good luck you all. And then I came to visit, and I met Steve, and I saw the community, and I saw the boat, and was like, how could I pass up an opportunity like this? I could go on with my life, doing my plans, but this is, I mean, this, right? To start at a boat at this level and then be able to sail it. You don't usually get to sail boats like this after, but like, I mean, if I play my cards right. So who could pass this up? And then I'll probably go back to Portland in my life and be back a lot to visit.
All right, so your first mission, if you choose to accept it, and every mission here is a if you choose to accept it.
Got it.
If there is something where you were like, nope, I don't get paid enough to do that, that is fine. I am the dude that you pass that buck to. I will pick it up every time.
Yeah.
So if you notice, we've got a couple deck beams here missing. So I took those, I actually never made those deck beams because I knew that the anchor locker was going to go in there.
Okay.
And it's made going in and out of the forepeak really easy because you don't have to go through the hatch. We just had this big opening. And there wasn't any real need to put them in.
Right.
So I've got the patterns for the deck beams. We'll dig through the locust pile, but it's just 1, 2, and then 3 just after the Samson posts so that we have a place to attach the king plank and everything to. Yeah. I just want to be able to make sure that we can take the nuts off.
That's what it is.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, as long as we got enough room to pop those nuts off.
Okay.
And then we need to make a block that fills in this void here. So that when the covering board comes on, yep, ochre locust.
Okay.
And we can trim these sawn frames back. So you don't have to try to fit so crazily around that. You just kind of, we'll clean them up a little bit.
Okay, and the deck will come.
Yeah, so we'll just fill this in with a big block of wood, and then the covering board will land on that. Flush with this. It'll get fair flush with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep, and then there's essentially the same thing in the stern. There's no deck beams, those are all filled in. So this is too long.
Right.
But this will go across like a deck beam.
Okay.
And we can just screw it down, and then we'll just fill in this block, and that's where the joint on the covering board will land, is over that big block.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll do center line blocking. Mm-hmm. And once center line blocking is in, port is totally planked. So we can start fairing the deck from basically the cockpit and the house sides all the way over to port. And get the center line blocking and everything all faired. And then once we get the starboard planked, we'll just fair that last little bit out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Hi, buddy.
He's getting more bold on deck.
Hi. Look at how brave you are.
We're gonna have to watch it. He's gonna jump down to the visitor entrance.
Jeez. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He probably will.
He jumped from the second floor. There's a door down that end that faces the garage right behind the little joiner. And we can open that up so when we need to send long timbers upstairs, we just open that door and we can run them in. So we can bring in like a 50-foot plank if we needed to, right upstairs. And I had just like a wire in front of it as a like, just don't go over there, dog. And he pushed the wire out of the way and jumped from the second floor. That's like 12 feet up, 13 feet up.
And he was like, doo-doo-doo.
Yep, he jumped and was gone. The neighbors caught him like half a mile up the road.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you can't trust him. He's a little wild.
Oh my gosh.
So port side here is all done. And what's missing on starboard are these last 3 planks.
Yes.
So
Yep.
there's the locust shear strake.
Locust shear.
And then the 2 cedars below it.
No,
and
how
then
did you
there's
come to
2 more
choose-
cedars, and then it's oak.
Okay. No,
Yep.
just for strength and
So we had a bit of
availability?
so we had a bit of a saga with cedar. We got a local cedar, and a lot of it was really knotty. And with the twist in the stern of the boat, and the way that we did the lining off, I think if we had done the lining off to make the planking a little bit easier, and we had a little bit better quality cedar, it would have worked out. But we were having real fits with it. After that, I was like, the cedar down below the water line's just got to go. I know it's going to make the boat heavier, make the boat a bit slower, but we've got a lot of internal ballast to play with, and
yeah.
we're going to bump into stuff, and the oak's going to just shrug it off compared to what the cedar's
Sure.
going to do.
And if you're not in it for a race, then who cares if
Cares.
it's a little slower? I mean, that's my take. People are like super into getting really fast. It's a sailboat. If you want to go fast, use a motorboat.
Boat.
I'm sorry, don't get angry with me. That's just my personal preference.
So we stuck the cedar up here above the water line where the planks are most likely to dry out and shrink the most, and having the stable cedar is nice.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't move as much of the oak. And if we get hold above the water line, it's much more inconsequential than getting hold below the water line.
Quite right. Quite right. I am curious how they'll weather, how they'll hold up over time differently.
It'll be
Because
interesting to
cedar,
see.
is known for its longevity, but oak
There's
maybe
plenty
is too. I mean,
there's
it's
plenty of schooners with 100-year-old oak planking.
well, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. So it'll be it'll be interesting that you have both to like.
And then black
Test it.
locust.
Yeah. So what's with the black locust shear?
So in all of the reading that I did, the shear strake is something that gets bumped into a lot.
Yes.
So having
Especially
a durable,
for
new sailors.
Not my
having,
words.
Some hardwood up there makes sense. And when I was doing all my research, I came across 2 things very repeatedly, and that basically every designer was concerned about. And when I read about repairs and leaks, there were a couple spots that they regularly came up from. And one was at the garboard. So where you have the keel and
Yeah.
going down and the hull going up.
Yeah.
And that seam right there.
Yeah.
And then again at the covering boards, where you have your shear strake meeting your covering boards
Yeah.
and that seam. And when the boat works, those are 2 places that are very much trying
Yeah.
to work.
Yeah.
So the bronze floors, in theory, should pretty much stop or go a long way towards
Slow.
mitigating that leaking down there. And then when we put the garboard plank on, it's a full length, almost foot tall oak garboard. So the garboard is screwed to the keel timber the full length of the boat. They're in. There's nothing to do. So they're screwed down the whole length of the boat, and then it reaches up with 1, if not 2, fasteners into the frame. So if you want to bring the keel timber away from the boat, there's the bronze floors there, but you also literally have to split that oak plank because it's covering the junction. And then I did kind of the same approach here. So we have the locust covering board
Yeah.
that will come onto the locust shear strake here, and that'll get screwed down its whole length. So if this wants to work or move, you have 2 hardwoods that are very stiff and very dense and don't like to move, very firmly attached to each other. And directly below this, on the other side of the frames, is the clamp and the shelf. So you have a box beam with a frame with another one above it, and that creates an incredibly
Sure.
rigid
I mean, it's like
shear
an
line.
I-beam. Really.
Exactly. It's an oak and
Wow.
locust I-beam that wraps the shear. Yeah. I've done some reading.
I mean, I saw your books. No professional I know has read so many books, just for the record.
So what we'll do on the other side is we'll put the shear strake on, and then we'll put this cedar on and just clamp it up to the shear strake. Real easy. And then this will be the shutter.
Okay. Okay.
Or we can do vice versa. We can put the shear strake on, we can put this plank on and wedge it down, and then we can put the shutter. But one of these 2.
Sure.
Doesn't really
I
matter
mean,
a
6
ton
to
of
1
difference.
doesn't. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
But we'll start with the shear. And the whiskey plank will go on May 28th.
May 28th. Why May 28th?
Because some folks are coming in to be here for it.
Okay.
And we can put the sheer strake on, we can put the other cedar on, and then we can just get to work on the deck. Okay. And if that last shutter plank, that whiskey plank, waits a week to go on the boat, it waits 3 days, it waits 2 weeks, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
We'll get it all prepped and just leave it on the bench down here, get to work on the deck,
and then
pop her in.
Easy.
Because it's a 40-foot plank, we won't do a dry fit.
Woo, that makes me nervous.
So far, we've done a few shutters and we've gotten them all. We'll do kind of like a dry fit almost as we go.
Sure.
So we'll mark it all out. We'll cut all the bevels and we'll start it and we'll just pop it out, shave a little bit, pop it in, and then we'll leave the stem long, and at the very end, that last thing will go in will be the screws into the stem.
Yeah. Right.
And then at that point, the pucker factor is astounding, because you have now fit a 40-foot plank and fastened a 40-foot plank, and you are down to getting the stem end to fit. And if you cut too much off, you got to like take fasteners out and scarf a piece on the boat.
I don't even want to talk about it. The thought makes me swear, but I don't swear anymore.
So
That's going to be difficult.
Those are the early plans. That's the VFD that controls the bandsaw.
Damn.
So you just open the box and press on. And then it's variable speed. So as the bandsaw is running, you can actually make it go faster or slower depending on your blade and your cut and things. I don't mess with it too often, but sometimes it's really handy.
Wasn't this built in like the 1600s? How is it at a variable speed? That's amazing.
Well, we just took new tech and married it with the old.
That's, well, I mean, that's partly what is so cool about this project, is that you don't come from this like boat building tradition where you're not married to like all the traditional methods. You're like, let's use variable speed on our ancient bandsaw, and let's use some fiberglass at the top of the mast and hold the thing. And it's just like, why not? Why not use the old with the new? I love that. I think it's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad, because you're going to be doing a lot of it.
I'm in.
It's been a little while since I've had consistent, skilled help in the boathouse. Carolyn left a little while ago, and Anne's been here, giving me a hand, mostly with the filming. So, you know, I can imagine coming out here day after day, week after week, working a lot of the time by yourself, filming oftentimes by yourself, can get, you know, it's not as fun. It's not as engaging. Nobody likes it all that much. And it makes a humongous difference in terms of how much work gets done having another hand around and having somebody else who can be working autonomously on projects. And, you know, it made a big difference when Alex was here and working on things, and when it was Aaron and I doing the planking, and when Carolyn came in and helped me wrap up the planking and get going on the interior. So I've been looking forward to getting KP started, and coincides with what should be some warmer weather very soon. And I can't wait to have that camaraderie in the boathouse and to be driving towards the launch sometime in the first half of 2023, which is next year. And there's no way that I, as one person, would be able to accomplish all of this work in that time frame while producing a weekly YouTube series. So having skilled hands in here where KP can go to town on the deck and I can keep plugging along in the interior, and we can give each other a hand when we need it. It's gonna make for more progress, make launch possible, and hopefully make for better videos. Spring's really exciting for a number of reasons. One, it's warmer weather. We can ditch all the extra layers, which is nice. And we can glue, which makes a big difference. We can do that outdoors. And this year, we're going to be able to host the open house, which we haven't been able to do the last 2 years. So May 7th and 8th, we're going to do the open house. And as soon as that's done, KP and I are going to cut off the staging on the starboard side and get to hanging the last planks. And we'll do the whiskey plank on May 28th. And it'll be really exciting to get Arabella fully planked. And if you make it to the open house, we'll have the last planks made. So there'll be an opportunity to leave your John Hancock, sign your signature, leave us a little note on that plank before it goes on to Arabella. And those won't be painted, they'll be oiled over. So they'll be there forever to see. So we hope you see you then, and we're looking forward to having KP and the progress and everything that's coming with the warmer weather and the new year, and onwards to launch in the first half of 23.